All PC players of Elite Dangerous are about to get a free upgrade to the 4.0 client, but what exactly does that mean? Meanwhile, the console players of Elite Dangerous can expect to see in-game the conclusion to the Azimuth Saga. So, what exactly is going on? Well, today Frontier made a new announcement, a new post titled Update 13, Narrative and Access to 4.0. The whole concept surrounds the client versions of Elite Dangerous. Currently on PC there exists two separate versions, version 3.8, which is the old Horizons client, and version 4.0, which is the Odyssey client. The differences between these two clients, these two version numbers, is that 4.0 contains all of the Odyssey content. That's the new planets, the new rendering, as well as the Odyssey on foot content. Meanwhile, the 3.8 version of Elite Dangerous contains all the old Horizons content, the old planets, and all of the old lovely stuff there. Now all of this is about to change. Players are about to get, PC players at least, are about to get a new additional option on the launcher. Shortly after Update 13, at some point in the future, players will be able to choose between Horizons 3.8 and Horizons 4.0. There'll also be the additional option of Odyssey 4.0 if you actually have Odyssey. Odyssey, of course, will continue to remain a paid update. Essentially, Frontier is saying that they are giving everyone access to 4.0 client here. It's kind of an upgrade, I guess, just basically Horizons with the new engine, but minus the Odyssey features. Additionally though, well worth mentioning is that 4.0 would also come with access to the Scorpion SRV, so yeah, a nice little bonus there. So, what is the meaning of all this? Why is this happening? Well, it all goes back to the post Frontier made in March regarding the console update. You may remember when they cancelled development on the console version of Elite Dangerous, they said that they were doing this to bring alignment to the development codebase. So basically, all updates will be going into version 4.0 and version 3.8 will no longer be getting the updates. This means that Frontier can work on one codebase rather than two different codebases. Incidentally, on the screen right here, you can see the differences between Horizons 4.0 and Odyssey 4.0. Now, all of this is related to the future updates of Elite Dangerous. It's kind of related, I guess, to Update 13, at least the post seems to imply that, but also specifically related to Update 14 and all future updates. So up until this point, it's been, and it continues to be actually, it's been very vague what sort of content Update 13 is going to contain. The update is going to release on the 9th of August. It's what Frontier are calling a narrative update. There's still nothing too specific really on what to expect, but Frontier have given a few indications in this latest post. So let's read the section of the post that relates to the Azimuth Saga, that is the current narrative. So regarding the information in this post, they have this to say. With regards to how all of this affects the conclusion of the Azimuth Saga, delivering our promise to offer the best possible narrative content requires taking full advantage of version 4.0. Therefore, Horizons players will be able to witness the final event in the Azimuth Saga and access related gameplay scenarios. Moving forwards, all PC players will have access to the content in the next narrative phase, given they are using version 4.0, except in cases where on-foot gameplay, and by extension Odyssey, is required. Now, to be perfectly honest, I found this post to be pretty confusing, not that clear at all on what it's trying to say here. I've noticed also that a few people around the internet, both on the forums, Reddit and YouTube, also seem to be a little bit unsure what is being said, so let's take a bit of a closer look. So, this first paragraph, with regards to how this affects the conclusion of the Azimuth Saga, so by this I assume that they mean the upgrade to Client 4.0. With regards to how this affects the conclusion of the Azimuth Saga, delivering on our promise to offer the best possible narrative content requires taking full advantage of version 4.0. So that seems to imply that the conclusion to the Azimuth Saga does indeed require version 4.0. However, it gets a little bit confusing with the following paragraph. Therefore, Horizons players will be able to witness the final event in the Azimuth Saga and access related gameplay scenarios. Now, I was actually confused as to whether this meant current Horizons players with Client 3.8 or future Horizons players with Client 4.0, in which case they would have to wait for the update to roll out. So, with that in mind, I reached out to Frontier for some clarification on this particular issue. The answer I got back was pretty surprising and actually was really good news. Absolutely every single player of Elite Dangerous will be able to experience the conclusion to the Azimuth Saga. Yes, that's everyone on PC, whether they're using the Horizons 3.8 client or Odyssey. It also includes everyone on consoles as well. Now, I'm not sure why Frontier haven't publicly said this, but they've confirmed that yes, the console version of Elite Dangerous, all players there will be getting access to the conclusion to the Azimuth Saga. Now, of course, we don't know exactly what that means. They are just saying that this is narrative content based upon the post. But the post also states that the final event in the Azimuth Saga includes access to related gameplay scenarios. So yes, it does seem to be there will be some gameplay related elements. Whether or not these will be simply community goals or something along those sort of lines, or something more substantial, unfortunately we're going to have to wait and see on the 9th of August to actually find out. Now, keep in mind that all of this only applies to the current story or the next step of the story with the Azimuth Saga. Beyond that though, as the narrative and the Elite Dangerous content continues to move on, everything will require the 4.0 framework, the 4.0 client. That means these updates, these narrative content, whatever they are, will only be available on PC and only available to those who opt to use the 4.0 client. So this yet again reiterates that unfortunately console players will not get future updates to Elite Dangerous, at least not any of these significant narrative, what Frontier are calling narrative-based updates. The same is also going to be true for anyone who chooses to stick with the Horizons 3.8 client, the existing Horizons client. If you want to stick to that and not use the 4.0 client, then you won't have access to any of the future updates, any of the future story-driven updates. Now, I also want to point out that right here I'm fully aware that I'm using Frontier's terms here of narrative update, story-driven updates and all of that lot. Unfortunately, we don't know what that actually means, have no clue whatsoever what Frontier are thinking here. Like I say, this could just be community goal-based content, stuff along those sort of lines, or perhaps maybe it could be something more significant. We don't know what that actually will entail. Ultimately, it means making videos like this is pretty difficult, as I can't pass on any specific information. It results in fairly vague messaging, and all of that is down to Frontier using their fairly vague terms. Ultimately though, I'm not going to say whether that is a bad thing or a good thing. It is what it is. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the 9th of August will bring. Hopefully, it's going to be an interesting surprise and a good one at that. Let's see how it goes. At any rate, do let me know your thoughts and feelings about all of this in the comments section below. Are you as surprised as I am to see that the console players will be getting access and seeing what happens in the conclusion to the Azimuth Saga? Meanwhile, if you're over on a PC, will you continue to use the 3.8 Horizons client and therefore continue to access all the old style Horizon planets? Or will you move on to exclusively use the Horizons 4.0 content? That's assuming that you don't use Odyssey just yet. Whatever the options are, whatever your thoughts, do let me know in the comments section below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.